I'm just cutting the spring down in the vise. I can't obviously do it. I'm only just recording this on my phone because my camera's with the editor, Phil. I've just made it just a centimetre shorter than I marked it. I leave this bolt in to keep the two leaves together while I cut, but eventually that will come out and there'll be another hole drilled there. So there's one hole there, and that's what will mount the spring. I'm gonna just there. Okay. Spring cut and turned upside down and clamped onto the front of the frame. There was a bolt that was sticking out. I told you that I was going to remove. I have. That hole will be what mounts this to there. Now, I can't drill straight up and through this because it's hollow. So if I tighten it up, it'll crush. So that's no good. So instead, what I should do is I shall cut a large hole in the top and drop an Allen head bolt straight through the top, and it will grip on the bottom of this box section. But before I do that, I will put this in there, in between them. I just can't do it with the one hand. But yeah, I will slide this into there. I will weld it, so it'll look further along, but it'll look like that, sticking out of both sides a little bit. And I'll weld it, and then the spring will be bolted to it on this end. And later on today, I will show you how to fasten the spring onto the axle. Actually, bear with me 2 seconds. I'm just going to draw. It won't take me a second to do it. Okay, I've just hung the U-bolts over the axle, and that is where they'll go. Then later on today, this plate here will be drilled like that, and that will then squeeze the spring. I'm just trying to hold this still, it's quite difficult. Squeeze those two together, and it's held at that end and held at that end and held there with a bit more than a bungee hook. We will have a Mitchell swing axle. Once that's done, we will look at connecting it to the mic. I can see how much the wide angle lens is really kicking the side of that door out. It's really looking quite bent at the sides, but that's okay. I've deliberately gone on wide angle so that we can get in nice and close and you can see me and you can see what I'm doing. And I'm just experimenting because I want to get better. I want to improve. I did a little bit of footage on my phone of cutting this. I've now got this clamped on, the spring clamped on. And now I'm going to mark up where to drill. So let's remove the axle, leaving the springs, put that to one side. I feel like I'm on Blue Peter. If anyone remembers Blue Peter, you probably all do if you're English like me. Okay. Oh, try not to say that too much, Lars. Now the angle of this isn't critical, just isn't. I want the wheel a little bit closer to the body than my other sidecar, but other than that, it just isn't critical. You don't need that. So we've got, what I've got actually, because you can do however the heck you want, I've got 7.5 centimetres or 75 mil, just there, to drill. And that's the space that I've got to drill 2 holes. So that's 75 mil there and there. So 75, okay. So you can see that the hole that these springs arrive with is within that 75 mil that I've got before I run into this upright. Now I'm going to just straighten them up a little bit. I did this morning with my phone with one hand. It's probably the last shot. I want these 2 edges lined up. That's the edge of the cradle and the front of the spring. I want them both lined up, and that's because I am going to run a little radius on there. I want this to kick out a little bit. No real reason. Just marked. Now this hole here was already in the spring, it was just the locating bolt that I've removed. So that is my first hole to drill from a spring. What I'm going to do is I'm going to find the centre of this. Actually, when I say I'm going to find the centre of this, I'm going to guess the centre of this. I was talking about stuff that was critical and stuff that wasn't critical. That's one of them. That isn't critical. Close to the middle's okay. Close as you can get to the middle, better. But let's not get obsessed with millimetres. Mark there. Right, I'm going to drill both of those now, and just that little divot that I've put in the centre there, I'm going to bring that close. I don't know if it's going to work or not. There you go. Did. That's just going to stop the drill from wandering. Okay, right, I'm going to drill a hole. Holes drilled. That's okay, I wanted a bit of play in that. That will help with the adjustment. First hole. That's what I'm going to call my heel plate. And that's just because I'm likely to drill through there and sink the head in, the head of the bolt in, and use an Allen head. It's going to go through there and rest on the other side of this. So I'll put the heel plate there just as a bit more. And on goes the spring. Clearly that bolt isn't long enough. That doesn't matter. This is just to hold it something like. Now I want this kicking out. I want this kicking out at a bit of an angle, just here, because remember that our axle wants to be toe in. We're upside down at the moment, so that's toe in. I'm going to tighten, am I? No, I'm not going to tighten this up too much. And the reason being, the spring bends. And what we're going to do with the second bolt that we put in, you see it move? See the spring move then as I tighten this up? There we go. Now, this spring, to a certain extent, the height is adjustable by adjusting these two here, and you can do things like put washers. If you put a washer under there, it's going to lift the spring and lift the whole sidecar, and if you put a washer under the other end, the bolt I'm about to drill, it will lower that. Hope that makes sense. Now, I've got the heel plate, I've got the chassis, and I've got the spring bolted. They're clamped there. And when I put my next hole through here, through all 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sheets of steel of varying thicknesses, they will all line up because they were all drilled at the same time. So I'm just going to check I can get my drill in there. Probably going to be darn close to that clamp, but that's the way it is. Actually, what I'm going to do instead, we're going to put it, that's better. What, better? Yes, now, yes, that's better. I can get my bolt in there. That took longer than expected, including dash to the shops to go and get some more drills. I'm rubbish at drills. I'm just tight when it comes to drills, and I don't know why. Spent a fortune on video kit. Spent a fortune, oh, I'll swap you over I think. Spent a fortune on motorcycles, and then I sweat and always end up cursing drill bits, going, come on, getting a sweat on them and all that sort of stuff, because they just out of tightness. Ooh, that's not good. Ooh, that's not pretty at all. Okay. However, come on, just leave you. Right. You can go your own way. I'm going to use a longer bolt on that one. These bolts really don't matter too much at the moment. They are just for lining it up. There we go, and I'm happy with that bit of play. That's okay, that really is. By the time these are tightened up, that's absolutely fine, and we want it so that when we can loosen it, it moves a little bit for us. Bolted up. The axle's still loose, I'm going to make the axle plate for that. Now, the bike hasn't moved. The sidecar's moved all over the shop, but this, remember, is the mark that we are looking for to line up with this axle. So you can see from that the axle wants to come back. Now, the only way that we can bring the axle back now is to bring the whole sidecar back, which, don't forget, is what we want. So we're getting very close to being spot on as it's going to be. that's going to drop a little bit more because the bike's currently on its centre stand. Now before we look at linking the sidecar and the bike up, we're going to have to put the bike in its on-road position, because after all, the sidecar is currently in its on-road position in as much as the wheel's touching the floor. Anyway, the next job is fastening the axle to the spring. So I'm going to come closer to the camera. This is the fish plate, axle plate, whatever you want to call it. And these are the U-bolts. I'm just going to come closer to the camera. I'm going to bring this viewfinder with me because then I can see. Okay, head's a little bit out of shot. Oh, put it on front. There we go, it's on there. That's great, I can see now. That spring plate there, I've marked with 2 lines. Those 2 lines correspond with the U-bolt there. This U-bolt is got a 21mm diameter internal radius, diameter, sorry. Big difference. If there's any young people watching, pay attention in maths and science. This is all maths and science. I know people say very often, oh, they don't teach you stuff like that at school. Yes, they do. Difference between radius and diameter in this situation is massive. So I've marked them up there. This is the offcut, the other end of the spring that we're not using. I'm going to mark that. Don't drill on those crosses. That is not the place to drill. That is the edge of the spring. We cannot be inside that area because that's where the spring is. So what we will do is we will mark the centre of what is left, the overhang. I hope that makes sense. So I'm going to drill there. Oh, that's not quite the centre. Again, I was talking about critical measurements. This is not one. Within a millimetre, but that's not what I'm calling critical. You know, we're going to get punch, 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 punch. I'm going to use a pillar drill and drill 10mm holes so that they can go in there. I have drilled the holes. Full disclosure, didn't line up very well. The keen-eyed amongst you will see, oh, some of those don't look overly square. Doesn't matter, really doesn't matter. These U-bolts are galvanized, I don't know what these are, supposed to be a fence, or it could be absolutely anything. They were just bought from the local hardware store. They're not high tensile. They're 10mm thick each. They are overkill. And now they fit, despite what you might be thinking about my measurement, very, very well. Now, as Monty Python said in the Holy Grail, remove the supports. Can't remove them all. We can remove that one and that one now. We can't remove these two obviously because we haven't fastened it onto the bike yet. Let's just pop them round the side. that's what we want. Movement. Oh, I can't see now. Oh, yes, I can. There you go, Debbie. When you are going across your corrugations, your suspension will hopefully be soaking that up. Though I assume that your dog doesn't weigh the 85 kilograms that I do. Now, one thing I'm going to point out just, there's the spare bit of spring. Where's the bit of spring? Here it is. The bit of spring that I used for marking. Now, the bit of spring that I used for marking, oh, it doesn't matter. This is spare. This is spare spring. So, if for some reason or other we think that's too much movement, and I don't, because although this side is moving here, don't forget that this side here will be attached to the bike, which will also be moving. So at the moment we've only got movement on this side. This side will move when it's attached to this moving bike. Right, I'm going to bring the camera over. Yeah, I'm going to move the camera over. I won't switch it off. Oops, super strong magnet holding it on. Looking down, there's the mark we made on the floor, 21 centimetres from the back axle of the bike. There's the back axle of the bike mark, 21 centimetres forward of that. Our axle is above that. Our axle is not parallel with this. That is at right angles. Our axle's not at right angles. And we can move it any amount that we want. You like that? Boink. So we can set toe in. Now at the moment I'm setting it by squeezing this end, and we're not going to squeeze this end. When it's done, this end here will have a pillar going down where my finger is, and we will adjust the toe in by sliding this forwards or backwards along the slipper spring. You can see that now that that wheel there is in the right place and the sidecar cradle is in the right place, that is enough place to put that spring in with the movement that we will need for the toe in. This is the final position of the cradle against the sidecar. That's it, no more movement to do. The only thing to do now in terms of the chassis work anyway is just fasten it, on. I'm not going to do that this session, it's probably gone on long enough anyway, probably talking too much. We're quite high up. I'm going to put box in. In you go. It is quite high. Remember the brief for this one was shopping and a dog, unsealed road. So this has got plenty of clearance. This will take you as far as you've got the nerve to go. Anyway, that's done for this episode. I hope you're enjoying it. Stick your comments on. I'm all ears. And see you next time for fastening it on, I think is the next job.